Almost live. Alright everybody, Jenny, Bruce, Nick, Shai, Nicole, Paul, Glenn. Awesome to have you all here together in the rainy season of Panama. Alright, so from the beginning of time, people have been asking, who are we and why are we here? Right? The two biggest questions. Many thousands and thousands of books have been written about that, but not only about that, but also about love. What is love? And why do we have this eternal seeking for something that we just really don't know? Sometimes we attribute it to love, and we kind of channel love into this format of, it could be a partner in a relationship, or maybe a love for our children. But when we really think about love, we don't really know what it is, and we don't really understand, because we make vows, I will love you for all eternity. 10 years down the line, there's a divorce, and you think, well, how is this love, and how does it come in and go into my life, and how can I stay connected to it, especially when we sometimes feel like there's nothing else holding us together or holding us up. So in today's world, with all the disinformation and miscommunication and hidden agendas, it's really difficult for people to uncover what is the true truth. And the only true truth that you can uncover for yourself is to understand how the love is reflecting in and out of your life and showing you what's happening in your outside reality. And I suppose then the only way we can actively be a participant in this journey of love is to understand that we always have a choice. So people often also ask, is there such a thing as free will? Do we actually even have free will? Or is there some computer simulation and some dude in a chair is playing us and bringing obstacles in our path? Or I don't know, there's so many things about, like, oh, do we really have free will? Yes, the only free will from my perspective that we have is to decide what choices to make in the situation you are in. You cannot necessarily control the situation or influence the situation. Like Glenn was saying to me, you cannot preach for people to live in the present moment and then go and worry about the fact that we don't have enough resources, because then you're being hypocritical. And I totally understand that about myself and my inability to stay fully in trust, stay fully in the moment, and only focus on the choice that's right in front of me, not get distracted by some future perspective or prediction or perception of what my life could be like, and now I need to worry about that, because that hasn't happened. Like Glenn said, nothing panned out like the way we planned it. We were very committed to have 10 founding families for $400,000 by the time we arrived in Panama, and it just didn't happen that way. The residency applications didn't happen the way we planned. So many things, but we put concrete intention in, we did the work to make it manifest, the application process with you guys. So many things just couldn't happen with forces beyond our control. So, but what we have willpower over is these moment-to-moment choices, and becoming aware of the choices we make based on the information we are receiving from ourselves. It is the way we process what is happening in our outside environment that is making us make certain behavioral actions or certain decisions that then takes us on a specific path. And that's why the healing work is so important, because we often do not realize that we have these subliminal patterns at the unconscious mind that's running fear paradigms into our life, and before we know it, we've been caught up by a fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of collapse, fear of dissolution, fear of loneliness, fear of our own power. All of these things can trigger like this when you don't realize that the information that's been filtering into your internal representation is making you make these decisions and then act on them. So, I assume, and Nicole said it might be good for to ask everybody, is it, we envision this Alaya project, right? And we assume, because that's what we want, is that people are interested in this project because they want greater sense of connection. Greater sense of connection with who they are, greater sense of connection with their beloved, greater sense of connection with their children and with family unit, with nature, with friends, with like an extended family community, because maybe you don't have that extended family community in your own or where you come from. So, is it true? Is this why we're here? Is this why you're here, Paul? Do you feel like you came here to experience that deeper connection with these aspects, with nature, with people, with yourself? For you, Shai, is this why you're here? For you, Nick? Is this why you're here? For you, Bruce? Jenny? Glenn? Okay. So if we try and uncover, but where does this lead us, this desire for connection, it's good to understand first, why don't we have connection? Because if we can understand why we don't have connection, we might have a clearer view of how we can find connection and stay on the path of connection. So, for many years, thousands of years, there's been this emphasis in our society on the patriarchal, so the patriarchal amplifies the left aspect of the brain, which is all about competition, survival of the fittest, only the best will win. So that's why a lot of people don't like Darwin's theory, and Darwin himself said, I'm not putting this forth as the ultimate truth. I'm just putting it forth as some reflections that could us help to understand our evolution. But he even in that saying said, this isn't the whole truth. But what we did was we took that truth and we wove it subjectively into the fabric of our whole society. And that's why we have schools that test kids from a very young age and class them if they are good enough or not. Because it's based on the idea that only the fittest will survive. And you need to shape up or shape out. So there's all this pressure on you from society. If you don't look a certain way, if you don't do certain things, then you are not going to survive, because we will enforce structures onto you that will prove to you you are a failure and that you cannot survive as who you are. Right? So these patterns that are keeping us disconnected all comes from this over-amplification of a logical aspect of our brain. This competition, this survival of the fittest. Fear. Fear is a huge aspect, like the pharmaceutical industry. They feed off our fear of death and our fear of disease, so they can feed you these quick fix chemical drugs that will have these immense long-term complications, right? Even that the fear of you don't have enough time is why we have microwave TV dinners, because you just want to have something quickly, never mind the long-term implications. I mean, you can take it through to every single aspect of our society. If you think about religion, it is the fear of not being good enough, of feeling unworthy, that makes you repent, because you ultimately fear the retribution of the one creator God that's going to throw you in hell and you're going to burn for all eternity. Or you fear that your children will burn in hell for all eternity, and through that you define your parenting style, right? So all of these reasons are why humans are living disconnected, why we've been living disconnected. It's because this over-amplification of a patriarchal masculine aspect in society, because the feminine works with the right brain, the creative. It is more about sharing, community, creativity. And the feeling is more connected to the sense self. So young boys especially have been brought up boys don't cry. You're not supposed to show your emotions, because it was so ingrained in the previous generation that feelings is for women, and feelings therefore make you weak because women are weak. This is the societal fabric that we were born into. Okay. So essentially what happened is through this continuous manipulation of how we as humans operate by taking in external information, filtering it through the process of a mind, and then acting on it, they can direct our actions. And the ultimate game plan is to, one, steer you so off your direction that you will never know who you are and how powerful you really are. This is the one thing that has, but whoever is behind this manipulation game, that they have 100% succeeded in. So many people in this world do not know who they are, and they do not know their own power. They have no idea of who they are and the power they have. Absolutely no idea. They're disillusioned, they're full of apathy, they are depressed, they're suicidal, they're fearful, and they are in survival mode. If the manipulation game can keep you in survival mode, then you live in chaos, you're so controlled by your external environment and how it's influencing you, and you're so deeply entrenched in fear that you cannot connect to the sense of who you are. And that sense comes through the feeling body. It comes through the heart center where you feel. It's not what you think. It is how you feel that allows you to have a sense of who you are, what purpose you're here for, and what is your connection to the external world, meaning the animals, the dogs, your children, your beloved, and the wider community around you. So that's why you see so many women in the wellness industry now kind of running the show, because it's easier for us women to remake the connection to our feeling self and bring our emotional body back online so that we can equalize the masculine and feminine aspect. There's a lot of feminists now that saying we need matriarchal again. No, it's just another imbalance. We've had, if you go back to old scriptures and channelings from beings that is bringing us the information from that time, they say that the matriarchal was just as bad to the men in that time. The men were then also undervalued and diminished. So really what we want is to bring the masculine and the feminine back into balance, and that creates a union. So yes, the yin-yang symbol is a representation of that, but there are many. Hermes has that snake crawling. So it's the rising of a kundalini to awaken your eye that can see beyond the physical world, that creates the connection to the unseen realm. And you cannot awaken the kundalini with first bringing the masculine and the feminine aspect back into complete balance. And then you start lifting your consciousness up, and you are extracting it out of a fear paradigm. So when your consciousness is at the root chakra level, you are in survival mode. You fear poverty. You live in lack. You fear pain. All of that. That is when you are reactive to your outside environment. So it's the stages of consciousness. Life happens to me. You are being reactive to everything that's happening to you. When you move your consciousness to the second chakra, it is your relationship of who you are in relation to the person you're interacting with. So when you look at the baby that's being born, it's also reflected in those growth stages. It's also reflected in the Mayan temple, and it's therefore reflected also in the creation story that was brought forth through the Mayan temple. It's all related. It's the same theme playing out. So when you think of a baby that's being born, their immediate need is survival. So when they come out and they get hungry, they will scream. So they have a feeling, I feel hunger. It's not an idea, I think I'm hungry. No, it's a feeling, I feel hungry. And then you act on that feeling and you scream, ah! And my mom said, oh, I suppose they're hungry. Right? So now let's say that something came up often in the biofield tuning where we're working at the outer edge of the field, and then when we activate the tuning fork, we pick up this immense density just after birth, and for the first 2 years or whatever. And often that's related to babies that's been bottle fed on schedule. So this guy, this nutcase in the 70s or whatever, wrote a book about how good it is for children to be fed on schedule, and he pushed that into the parenting market. And even now, people still think it's the greatest idea. I know because I experienced it with my sister when she was living in London. The child was sitting in my arm, and I looked down at him, and he was, what's a beautiful... No, it's when you are full, satiated. Yeah. He was feeling bad, and he kept on spitting the bottle out. He didn't want to drink more milk. But she said, no, Henrik, he has to finish this bottle. That's how it is. He has to finish this bottle, otherwise he won't make his 2-hour or 3-hour, 12 o'clock feed. Then I'm going to have to feed him at 5 to 12, and that's not the schedule we're on. We're on schedule. So he needs to push the bottle back in and feed him.
No,
so immediately what's happening is the feeling sense and the ability to voice how you feel so that the environment can give you what you need is being severed. From birth, continuously drilled into you. What you feel and your desire is not important. That's what these babies have been trained since the day they were born. If I would bottle skate on future. It creates a huge distortion for that person that will end up in an abusive relationship, unable to say to their partner, I feel extreme pain, sadness, neglect, disillusionment, whatever they need to say. They cannot say. They cannot act on their own feeling sense. So now this we all sense, because we've all walked the path of pain, we've all walked the path of disillusionment, we've all walked the path of knowing inside ourselves that something better is possible. Now this seeking of something different is essentially the path of love, because it is that feeling that you feel in the moment of your complete desperation and disillusionment, where you feel, I surrender, and I cannot go on like this. Something needs to change. And in that surrender where you feel you cannot go on like this, something needs to change, and you feel that desperate longing of a soul for something better, that yearning, that deep soulful sadness, and that moment of deep surrender. That is the feel that then starts the alchemical process of an initiate or the seeker starting to seek something outside of what the world has to offer. Because the fame, the money, that whole game, there's nothing in it for me. I have already seen it, experienced it, smelled it from a mile away. There's nothing there for me. So now I turn my attention away from that, and I turn my attention into this inner journey, and I decide that this longing, this knowing that there should be something better for me, for my children, for my family, and for me to be able to express who I am and feel a connection with the people and the nature around me. That is the path of the initiate, of the seeker. That is the path of love. And when you walk that path of love, it comes from feeling. So when we were created by these multidimensional beings, our star mothers that came from other planets, the Palladian, the Andromeda, blah, 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 they thought that it will be a beautiful gift to bestow their highly developed evolutionary DNA to this planet Gaia, because her desire was to express power, beauty, and creativity. She's a being but wanted to express creativity, beauty, and power. And we came, our soul song, when we split from the one source aspect, so that we can experience what source is by our own fragmented individual singularity point. Our soul song intertwined with the song soul of Gaia to express power, beauty, and creativity as an aspect of her, as one organism. So they felt it's a beautiful gift to bestow their highly developed genetic material to this planet, so that the beings on this planet can walk this path of creativity, beauty, and power. So what happened was that we have 3 technologies. We have a brain, the heart, and the gut. So now Heart Math Institute have done a lot of research, and they can prove that the heart is a bigger processor of information than the brain. It's been proven. I don't know how they do it. I haven't read the research. If you've read it, please come back and tell me. Because we were thinking that the brain is the only filter of information, and that's how we make our decisions. But the brain really is a library of built-up experiences that we've had in this life. So when you ask your brain, what should I do here? It goes back and says, well, one day you made this decision, it worked out pretty well for you. That time you made that didn't work. So maybe do this. But when you go through your feeling self, through the heart center is connected to the universal source field that carries so much information, because when we were created, we had a direct channel to the universal source field and to all our evolutionary parts. So not only our seed mothers, but when our oversoul fragmented into many singularity points, we could access all of that information. So when I, in a different realm, made a transformational process through some evolutionary soul growth, I here could access that through the universal source field, and that would amplify my experience here. And if my soul mother had the evolutionary process back in Andromeda or in Sirius or wherever, then that information will become available to me. Just as I make this evolutionary jump, my information will access all of that. So that is the open source field that you have access to. It knows your soul contract with all the people around you. It knows your soul purpose. It knows your soul's need to come here and the decision it made to come here. It knows all of us. So when you access from the feeling self, you are accessing from a hugely more expansive field of information than from the mind. And how you interpret this in a physical way is you have a feeling, it feels good. Oh, this feels good. I like this. Oh, this must be the direction I should be moving in. Then the brain, the mind notice, oh, you like that? Okay, let me see how I can help you to do some things in the physical realm so that you can get more of what you say you want. It is never meant to be the soul driver. But because of this manipulation agenda that was played in with Earth, they found that they could siphon the energy of humans or whatever, through the control of a mind. So there's a 4th dimensional field that holds the collective mind, that holds the idea of what's possible for us as creators to create in the 3D. So let's say the chair, the idea of chair exists in the 4D collective mind field, in the 4th dimension. Glenn then downloads the idea of chair and says, I as a creator in 3D linear time and space will cut a tree, which is a 2-dimensional being, cut it and build a chair, and now we sit on it. Right? But when the 4D collective mind has been infiltrated with paradigms of control and fear, it capped our bandwidth to reach the universal source field. So this was given to us, this model came through Barbara and Cloud. She has a parallel self in the Palladi, she works in a library there. So she downloaded this model. So this is the 2D, this is the elemental realm. This is the 1D iron crystal core of Earth. This is you lying on the healing table in 3D linear space and time. And this is the 4D collective mind field. It's been infiltrated with programs of fear, lack, and scarcity. It's like an umbrella. Now you can't access love and creativity, which is the original dimension in which Earth was born and we were born into. We were born connected to source field in abundance. I mean, look at this abundance. Can you build a house? Yes. Look at all this work. Look at all this everything. Can you make baskets? Yes, you can make baskets. Can you eat? Yes, with mangoes. Can you make clothes? Yes, you can make clothes. You can use this and that fibers to make clothes. Can you make rope? Yes, you can make rope. There's everything here. Everything is in abundance. We were created to live in abundance. In the fifth dimensional field of love and creativity, because that was Earth's desire to live in 5D. She was born in that. We were siphoned out of 5D into a solely 3D linear reality, and a cap was put on our bandwidth, like an umbrella, so we can no longer access the 5D field. We cannot access 6D, which is the sacred geometry, 7D, sound frequencies, 8, the I am presence, and 9, the universal time, I don't really know what 9 is. So the only way for us to regain our connection is to break the canopy of fear that's holding us in this 3D linear space and time. So next time, and and then that's why all the old people, like on the Oracle of Delphi, in the Temple of Apollo in Greece, it says, know thyself. There are keys that has been left by masters, living masters that came to this realm to collect the souls that were ready to move on and have a bigger expansion of their soul. Or many teachers, many philosophers, many people like you, Jan, that lived with deep compassion, that left us keys that wasn't burned in the libraries with Inquisitions and the Middle Ages and whatever, but still survived. Because why? Because really the Akashic field of all the information of what's ever happened on this planet exists in the 5D field. So even if the physical keys of how to unlock this 4D so you can access your full dimensionality, even the physical evidence is no longer here. We can internally download it from the 5D field. But the first thing is to step out of fear. There's even the saying for those of you that might be a little bit more religiously minded, that God cannot come to you when you're in the state of fear. You need to step out of it and go, and then you are met with open source field, really. Right? There was something else I want to say. Let me just quickly. Step out of fear. Know thyself. Step out of fear. Know thyself. And know thyself is why we do the timeline therapy. Because if you are so programmed to be reactive of the experience, you are not consciously deciding how you're going to respond. So often you see, like, my students sometimes thought I was like slow, because when they ask me a question, I'll have this dull look on my face, and I'm waiting for the information to come in, so that I can give him a complete inspired response that's completely matching what they need to know in the moment. I, Annerie, with my limited brain, do not know this person. I don't know their history. I don't know why they choose to make a mouse the logo of a corporate, and what's the real meaning of that. But if I keep my conscious mind clear, and I'm not reactive to the experience of, oh shit, I don't know, or what I was here, thinking or whatever, just in responsive mode all the time. I can just be open for a moment, the information comes in, and I speak it. So then I would say to them later, okay, look, and they realized also, hey, just give me a time, a moment for it to come, because they then realized that it's always relevant to them. And it's never blaming, shaming, or demeaning. So this is the 3 stages of consciousness. When you are in the victim, the perpetrator to me, life happens to me, and you realize that you are the creator of your own reality, and this is what the law of attraction teachings came and told us in the late 80s, 90s, and 2000s, that life happens for me. Now you're like, okay, I can control my experience by controlling what I'm thinking. I can think positive things, and positive things will start showing up in my world. And some people are absolutely brilliant with manifesting. And that is an aspect of our technology, because this brain that was given to us by the very people that are now manipulating us, it is such a complex and highly developed piece of technology that can express an intent so strongly that it will manipulate all the things in the outside realm and completely change this realm to give you what you want. And people have been creating miracles through this idea that I'm the creator of my own reality. And what I think and the intent I put out, especially when it's combined with a feeling response, when you can put some emotion into it. So nowadays you'll see people that's now teaching law of attraction, they say it's nothing just thinking it. You have to embody it. Like, how will it feel to live in that beautiful house on the island with a soft sea breeze flowing in and the birds going choo, 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 and the kids running, wah, la, 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 and you hear the stream, and you know the ocean is because you can smell the ocean in the breeze, and then has the soft flowing curtains in his visualization. That's like showing the breeze, like this fluid movement, and it's so beautifully built, but it's holding the integrity of our own original blueprint intact. How will it feel to wake up in that beautiful house on the island? Then you can create your reality through this level of consciousness. But sometimes this isn't enough. We think we know what's good for us, and we become so focused on this is what I want. And then if you cannot create it, or it's not being created to how you put in the intent or the expectation, then it becomes another way of punishing yourself. Am I not good enough? Why isn't this making me happy? Blah, 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 blah. Because essentially, how to use this technology in the right way is to follow the joy, the excitement, the inspiration, but not with emphasis on the outcome. Because actually, source field, here's your desire and intention, co-conspires with you to give you something that's 200 times better of what your little mind can come up with. So by putting the stake on the ground and saying, I'm manifesting a house on the island, and this is what I want, and this is going to make me happy, you are disregarding that source can come in, create serendipitous opportunities for you. You can match vibrations with other beautiful people that can bring their gifts to the table. All of these matching, because essentially when you look at quantum physics, like attracts like, right? So this is also the principle. If you don't want to say open source, you can say that joy will attract more joy, because it's a frequency match. So then the third stage of consciousness is life happens through me. It's where you still understand that you are playing an active role in this creation. And let me just stop here for a minute and say, but a lot of the information going on now about this ascension and this awakening is the idea that you're going up and out. You are like ascending throughout all of us into some other mystical realm It's all about this ascension, this going out. When in actual fact, it's complete reverse. You are opening up to the multidimensional self and all aspects that you are in all realities, all space and time. You're integrating all of that and you're reconnecting with the source field so it can flow through you. And once it flows through you, you use that information. If it's the feeling, sometimes there's such a thing as higher mind and the higher heart, which we can talk about in the next time. You're using that then to create physical manifestation. That is how you are co-creating with Gaia. You're accessing information, you're becoming a creator yourself, and you are creating a new reality with Gaia. And you're grounding that here on the earth plane. So, when life happens through me, you become the vehicle, you still have your intent, you still have your beautiful feelings, your inspiration, you act on it, you have a mind that helps and guides you, that's functioning as a tool, but it's not a monkey that's running loose wherever it wants to go. It knows its place, you still have an active ego, but the ego is constantly transforming with you and able to transform with you because it knows its place in the bigger scheme. When there's a sense to be humble and do introspection of how you played a part in creating the reality around you, where someone is injured by what you say, or someone, then you can have still that humbleness and do that reflection. So everything then falls back into place and you co-create with it. So that's what we was thinking of this project. The intention of a project is to live in this connectedness. And then we become these new frontier families that can say to other people, you are tired of the chaos, you're tired of the disconnection? Yes. Well, let us show you how we have found connection again. And how we can live outside of being enslaved by time, being enslaved by fear, and always feeling like you're one step behind. You can step into the present moment now, and that's enough. And just stay in that trust. It's difficult, but we can do it. And this is what we want. And then there's an alchemical process, but this is one of the keys that's been left behind us. And the process of how to really reintegrate all your technology so it runs smoothly, so you can be connected and live in the universal heart coherence field, is by filtering through all the gunk, all the shit that you've taken on from your mom, from society, from school, from your friends, from your beloved. All of that gunk needs to surface. You become aware of it and you release and heal, release and heal, release and heal, release and heal. And really what the gunk is, what we call the dark or the shadow work, is just that what isn't known. And that what isn't known can sometimes bring intense feelings of pain, the disillusionment, angst, anger. But when you bring your light of awareness to that aspect, it becomes known, you uncover the gift of experience, and it all turns into light, and everything is sense. Or that soul aspect, or that piece of you, or that timeline collapses, and now that lost energy is fully integrated in the you here now. So what we can do is we can start with simple calcification, then we do this dissolution, separation, fermentation, distillation, conjunction, and coagulation, where eventually we have a phoenix with our wings, and we rise up from the ashes. We uncover our rainbow light body. And I don't know why we get the gold prize. Yeah. I don't know why it says gold.
Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, Glenn maybe it's good if he wants to say something, or if you can think of a process we can do, I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot.
You did?
I did prepare you. Huh?
Did she
You did
drag
have
you to
to.
Panama?
Okay, let's ask for
Right.
Did
questions.
she drag you to Panama?
Yeah. By my left foot.
Your left pinky toe.
Is there any questions, suggestions, or reflections that's coming up for anybody? And it's interesting that Grail,
Yeah.
so that's just the subplot of us seeking the Grail, and the Grail holds with elixir of life, and this Grail is the seeker of the Grail, and also the protector. The Grail Knight is also the protector of the seeker seeking the Grail.
I just find it crazy that we're all here and we all, like, there's no denying that. To me,
Yeah.
there's no chance for questioning anything that you just said. Because that's, some people don't have the ability to feel anymore. You know, they don't have that ability to seek outside themselves or outside their physical reality. And we were all stuck, right? We were all stuck, but we could feel that something doesn't feel right. There's something more. There has to be. I mean, I felt it since I was little, but I just had no way of figuring out what that was. You know, I didn't have any mentor or anybody around me that helped me seek what that was that I was seeking or what I was feeling. So just to be here and to hear it, and it's like I know it all, but I don't have any physical words to express it. And it's just, I just appreciate it. And
We all do know this because it's codes in you.
Yeah.
You know, if you hear the truth, you know the truth.
Mhm.
I think, Bruce, you've had some instances where, you know, you stumble upon the truth and you know for a fact it is. When a man speaks or someone speaks, and you resonate with that, and then the words doesn't need to be explained. You know it inherently. So maybe now, yesterday I wrote a piece for the website, just kind of short 1-2 liners, 2-3 liners of the 4 legs or the 4 pillars of this project, which is number 1 is the ecoversity, that's reaching the global community. The second pillar is the wellness center, which is in direct support of the ecoversity, because the wellness center would allow people to come in and access this and go through the motions, to heal themselves, to feel themselves again, to reconnect to themselves again. Whatever it's going to take to do that, we don't have the capacity to do it by ourselves, but whatever it's going to take, if it means ayahuasca ceremonies and, you know, whatever shaman, healer we can find to come in and help people to heal from that societal conditioning. Because now that you guys are sitting here, you can actually feel how fucked it was where we're coming from. How bad it was where we're coming from. Where you know, fear is number 1. And in a lot of cases, if you don't fall into the fear paradigm, you scold it, they will take you out if you're not scared, if you're not fearful
They
of
used to
life.
take you out if you speak the truth.
Yeah, they still do. But then
Because
again,
they want you to fear.
but then again also, then it becomes tricky, because as soon as you go into they did this, they did that, then you become part of the problem, or you allow yourself to be in the problem. There is no they. They are a figment of our imaginations, because essentially it's what we allow.
Yeah.
If you are a powerhouse, that the energy from your core is equal to that of 12 external suns, I mean, it's still unfathomable. We still have no idea what the human body actually is, and that's just the physical part. We have no clue what the physical human body is capable of. There's some remnants scattered through history. Go look at the pyramids. Go look at, here in Chichen Itza. Go look at Göbekli Tepe, Peru, Chile, all of those places. And there's things that we cannot explain. And the only explanation, the most valid explanation, there must have been some ancient alien civilization that came down and built this stuff. What if not? What if it was just the pure capacity of the human body, understanding in Tibet? There has been witness accounts of people witnessing monks using throat chanting and certain frequencies to move rocks the size of this building, move it up and down, which is not supposed to be possible. So we might just have had previous civilizations where we were more in touch with those things. I mean, we are now basically all like infants trying to learn to walk again.
Wounded infants.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But the beauty about any wound is they heal. And, if you look metaphysically at any wound, isn't the wound there to be healed? I mean, a wound is not there just to be a wound. It's there for healing.
I'm just so thankful to be here, to be able to, because I've always felt like I've always wanted to help, right? I always just want to help people, right? And I did little things in my life, and I led my life to be able to feel like I could help people. This is helping humanity in another whole nother level, like by being here and healing myself is helping other people, and it has to come from you first, right? So healing yourself then gives you the ability to help heal other people. And that's what we need. There's no other option. We are at the point in the world that there is no option. And people are feeling that all over the world. That they don't know what to do or where to go or how to feel, or they don't know any of that. So just to have the opportunity to learn how to heal myself, and I'm sure he feels the same way, to be able to then get to the point where we can actually feel like we're not just helping people and giving ourselves, right? We're actually helping ourselves and giving at the same time. So it's like this balance that needs to come back. And
giving happens automatically then.
Right.
Giving
just
just
becomes
becomes it just becomes you, because then you give of yourself, not from yourself. You give of yourself, and it happens automatically. I mean, there's no stopping it. There's no I can't give. I can't give more than this. Then I might lack. Right. Because there is no such thing. Right. It just flows, and it keeps on flowing. And there's, if you look at some of the religious scriptures, the widowers, that vat of hers that just kept flowing, overflowing. I don't know, there's a lot of stories in the Bible, in the Adi Granth, in the Vedas, in the Quran, there's numerous stories. It's bits and pieces that reflect back to this. Unfortunately,
it's always been suppressed. Nobody wanted to let that out. For the fear, because of the fear of the unknown, the fear of what you can't see.
Loss of control.
Because we've always just lived in this, whatever we can see.
So I think it's individuals that suppressed themselves, being suppressed, looking at this knowledge, and having that unbelievable level of lack of self-worth, then taking a book and forcing it onto another to validate their own self-worth, which they don't have. Hence where we are now.
And then having children and then raising them in that, and then it's like a virus that just
no, it's completely
That's why you don't even have to feel bad if you don't feel you're good enough. Because most probably it happened 4 generations ago when someone accidentally killed someone and now they feel they're not good enough. They were never able to heal that trauma. That trauma is carried over into the next generation. Either by the way they parent their children and then those children parent their children and those children parent their children. And now you're just this little thing running around feeling you're not good enough. Keep, blaming yourself. But it's all this generational stuff. It's just been all this baggage that we come here to heal. And interesting about the service to self and service to others, because it's been coming up now for so many months. And what we were saying, where do you draw the line? Because it's so difficult. Where are you taking care of yourself? And where are you taking care of others? And where do you have time for your children? But once you live connected in flow, there's no line anymore, a dividing line between service to self and service to others. It just becomes one thing. Because if I'm serving Paul, am I not serving my child also? If I'm looking after myself, am I not showing love to my child by looking after myself? There's no line there. It is all just that's why we say it's the path of love. It's just an expression of being an open vehicle for, in the moment, for flow to flow through you. And if you feel inspired, you do that because you know that that comes from a pure aspect of you. It's not to compensate for your guilt or to make right but where you think you've gone wrong. It's just a pure intention. I feel inspired to help this person. And when you act on that inspiration, you can be in full trust that it's affecting everybody around you positively. Your children, your beloved, everybody. And that's why you then step outside of the enslavement game.
The enslavement is but one of the vices. There's anger, attachment, greed, vanity. What's number 5? Anger. No, I just said anger. Anyway, it's the 5th one. They're like little boys. Yeah. So, greed. I mean, where we are now. This is all greed, because greed quantifies. That's the mechanics of greed. It quantifies. How much have I got in this box? How much do I need to put in this box? And how much of that is mine? And how much do I give off to that one? And it's a quantification. It's just a quantification. Go and look at all the CEOs around the world, and go look at their qualifications. Their qualifications. The CEO of Apple. Before Steve Jobs, I think even, I don't know about Steve Jobs, but, all of them, they're coming with accountant background. They're accountants. They're not
managers.
They're not managers. Most of them can't even manage a prostitute in a whorehouse. They're not. There's a lot of stuff that they are not. They're definitely not that. But they are accountants. And all they do is they can do accounting. And somewhere along the line, they've picked up some other skills as they see how the minions are scuttling around in the company. They pick up some other skills, but mostly it's just accounting. So we've been nurtured and we've been cultivated in an education system based on greed. It's just about quantifying. Our kids, us, I think this was from about Henry Ford's time, when Henry Ford actually had some really awesome intentions, and he suddenly we heard this podcast, he upped the minimum wage to $15 a day per worker, which meant that his workers could actually afford to buy a car and to buy the products that they're making. Where he was one of the very few that did that. And now we've regressed back to greed again, where it's just this quantifying of keeping those boxes empty and filling these boxes full. So our children are born in that. We raise our children in that in school. Once then you learn ABC and 1, 2, 3, mathematics. When you are not good at that, you get pushed outside. You don't get the privileges of higher education or any of the other privileges. But when you're good with numbers, you are swept up by these masses, and you are taken to a place of wealth and prosperity in material terms. And the sad reality is that most of those people that I've met in my life are really sad people. I've met so many people that they are so poor, they've got nothing other than money. They are horrifyingly poor. All they've got is money. So, yeah, I think we've got an opportunity here to do some absolutely amazing work and to draw people in that can also contribute to amazing work.
Let's spread a healthy virus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's spread the virus of love. I'm ready. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Annie.
Good job.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.